Just over a year ago, I have done a review on KZ PR1, which was published on Head5, as you can see here. It was an IM which was well received by many, loved by many, and surprised many people for being so good at a low price point. 6 months afterwards, or rather 6 months earlier, I have done another review of KZ PR2, the successor, published on my YouTube channel. You might have seen it. Yet another well-received and well-liked magnetic planar from KZ. And naturally now we have a successor to both of that, which is KZ PR3. Alright, so let's just have a look at the price, the configuration, and the setting for this KZ PR3. As you can see here, this is another budget IEM coming from KZ. Alright, priced at 29 US dollar during the introduction very recently. It comes in this simple box here, which is pretty much what you're gonna get inside. The IEM itself, stock KZ cable, and a pair of silicone and foam tips. This is the IEM itself already assembled in my hand right now. Okay, you would notice that this is definitely not KZ stock cable. Okay, this is my own cable, and for two reasons. First, I don't like KZ stock cable. It is just so flimsy for my usage. Okay. And this Kinera leading cable, I am using it because it offers me this modular plug here, which allow me to seamlessly change between 3.5 mm to 4.4 mm because I have so many DAC here with different type of port. And the tips that you see here, this is KZ on foam tips, which comes with the unit. Okay, so the entirety of my review will be based on this setup, which I'm holding in my hand right now. All right. So let's just have a look at the build itself. This is pretty much the sort of design that you can expect from KZ in the recent IEM. Alright, very similar. The front here, metal faceplate, and at the back here, hard resin, almost transparent. You can see the content. And the build quality itself, pretty much I would say solid as well. Okay, ergonomically comfortable. I was able to wear it for a prolonged period of time. And what's more important is what's inside. Okay, you're gonna find single magnetic planar inside with the size of 13.2 mm and the impedance rating rated at 15 ohm, very low, perhaps the lowest which I have seen yet coming from KZ, with the sensitivity at around 98, pretty much I would say regular as per expected from a magnetic planar. And as for the rest, like I say, very simple affair coming from this IEM. Now, let's just talk about the most important subject, the reason why you are here, sound and performance. In order to do that, let me just share you this, okay? The summary of notes which I have taken for this KZ PR3. There's 10 items listed there. I will walk you through it one by one, trying to be as concise as possible, okay? So let's just start with the power itself. When we talk about magnetic planar, usually the first question that pops into our mind would be that, can my device drive this KZ PR3? And my answer would be, yes, you can. You see here, this phone of mine, this Sony Xperia 1 is not a very powerful device. 1 VRMS, 35 milliwatt of power per channel, direct from this port here. I was already able to use this PR3 to a point that I would even say it is engaging, right? Quite useful for casual listening. It is fairly well balanced between being analytical and musical at the volume of 75 out of 100. But then again, it is entirely dependent on my sensitivity to sound. For you, perhaps it is not enough. And in that case, right, the good news is that being a magnetic planar, this PR3 scales really well with more power, especially when I attach it to this Hebe FC6, my number one dongle here, and also pretty much, similar with the rest of my DAC M here, anywhere from 2 VRMS all the way to 4 VRMS. This is yet another very popular tuning, which is the classic V sound curve. I don't have to explain too much. It simply means that there's a boosting in the upper frequency, some boosting in the lower frequency, and not so much on the mid-range itself, okay? The most important part is the next one, which is the tone and timbre presentation. Okay, if you are familiar with HiFiMan HE400SE magnetic planar, I would even say that this PR3 and that headphone exhibit similar sort of sound signature. which is slightly metallic but smooth, okay? And I would even classify both of them being bright sounding, okay? So now let's talk about the resolution itself. If you are a fan of analytical sound, rest assured you're gonna get it from KZ PR3. As noted there, it is transparent and analytical. I would even say that the strongest factor or element that you can expect from this PR3 is that being very strong with macro details, the way it presents the macro details, especially when you subject it to highly capable DAC amp like this Burson Audio Playmate 2 or even Hebe FC6 here. Alright, I am hearing very strong presentation of the macro details especially. Okay, so now the next one, the energy of the sound itself. How does it present the sound? Okay, I classify this KZ PR3 being energetic and euphonic. So it means that if you are the type who prefer safe tuning or mild or Sennheiser HD series sort of presentation, you would just simply find this offensive sounding, okay? Let me just put it this way. This is without a doubt the most energetic sounding of PR series which I have heard so far. Now let's have a look at the upper frequency of this KZ PR3, the treble itself. As noted there, you can expect this PR3 to be crisp and sparkly bold with the way it presents the treble, okay? So just simply put, if you are sensitive to treble, you are not a treble head, you just simply find this overly bright or even sibilant, okay? Let me just put it straightforward like that. But if you are a treble head, then you're gonna love the sort of sound coming from this KZ PR3 because it is energetic, airy, and then very well defined with the way it presents the macro detail of the upper frequency and even the micro detail, meaning that the way it disperses to the decay stage to the highest frequency is very well resolved, especially when attached to my Burson Audio Playmate 2 with lots of power. Then I'm getting smooth, crisp sounding treble from this KZ PR3. And then moving on to the mid-range itself, in relation to the upper frequency, the presentation of sound itself for the mid-range for this PR3 is something which I would define as being neutral. And the reason that I'm saying it's neutral because I am not hearing any kind of attempt to color the mid-range itself. The vocal, the instrument sounded natural to me, okay? It doesn't sound warm or even it doesn't sound dry at all. But let me just emphasize one very important thing and pay attention to this, okay? The upper mid-range all the way to the treble region, the PINA region of this KZ PR3 is super strong, very, very strong. It may appear offensive if you are sensitive to PINA, okay? Because when I listen to instrument, especially percussion instrument or even string instrument, the way it presents the attack itself is super, super bold, you know, energetic, vibrant, upfront, okay? And I would even say that, you know, all the way to the treble region, if you are sensitive, again, to upper frequency, you just simply say this is outright abrasive. Okay, so pay attention to that, all right? This is definitely not for people who are sensitive to that PINA region, okay? Now, let's talk about the lower frequency. The good thing about this PR3 is that there's very well balanced, you know, a good balance between sub bass and mid bass. What I'm trying to say is that, you know, I am not hearing that the sub bass or the mid bass fighting each other for dominance. It is very well presented. The mid bass itself offering quite a bit of rumble, energy, and authority to the sound itself. The texture itself being really good. And the way it presents the decay, it is smooth and crisp. Let's talk about soundstage. This is pretty much something which I would define as being normal. I have listened to many IEM, magnetic planar even, and even when comparing it against the rest of the competition, it is nothing extraordinary there. I would just simply classify it being normal. Not exactly narrow, not exactly wide, just normal, okay? But at least the good thing is that when we talk about the staging itself, it has good spatial presentation to the way it presents the source of sound. The layering is good, okay? The separation is good. And I was able to pinpoint sound source, which means that not just only for music, this PR3 would even be suitable for gaming as well. So how does this KZ PR3 compares against the rest of the competition, especially in the magnetic planar space? In order to do that, let's just have a look at this, okay? As usual, this is ND Auto Vault rating system, okay, which only exists in ND Auto Vault. And what you're seeing there is a collection of magnetic planar category. Not all of them, because I have tested a lot more within the space of the last 2 years. I can only fit that many into a single page. So let's just have a look at KZ PR3. The overall score for KZ PR3, simply put, is just slightly lower than KZ PR2 for two main reasons. First, I think KZ PR3, despite being very well presented with the rest of the categories there, compared with PR2, does really well in many areas except for two areas, which is the mid-range and treble performance. Because I think this PR3 is a bit over-engineered when it comes to that element. It is only suitable for certain type of people who love energetic, bold sound presentation from the upper frequency, but may not suit at all for those people who are sensitive to upper frequency, especially upper mid-range, the PINA region. It would even appear outright abrasive to them, okay? And I am just being fair to reflect on this because to me, it may not sound abrasive enough, but I can imagine that if you are familiar with safe tuning, you just simply find that this KZ-PR3 outright offensive. And as for the rest of the competition, you can just simply pause the screen here and have a look at it, and you get an idea where does this KZ-PR3 stands against the rest of the competition. As I reflect on the overall performance and offering from this KZ-PR3, as noted earlier, I think there's a missed opportunity here from KZ. Alright, for the fact that in the wake of highly successful KZ PR1 and PR2, this KZ PR3 appeared kind of like, trying a bit too hard to impress the crowd. Okay, there's a bit of element of over engineering there on the upper mid range, especially all the way to the treble, to a point that it became only suitable to certain type of people. People who enjoy strong, energetic, euphonic sort of presentation for the treble itself, but not suitable for people who are sensitive, who prefer safe tuning. They would find this PR3 outright abrasive. That is pretty much what I am certain of, because the way it presents the upper region is just simply very strong. Okay, so if you are getting PR3, it is in your wish list. Just pay attention to that element.